And another battle the GOP is gearing up for, the Bush tax cuts. The fight over whether to extend them and for whom becoming one of the top issues for the lame duck Congress. President Obama on Wednesday said that he sees the chance for compromise, but congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle show no signs of budging. Joining me now for a fair and balanced debate, Congressman McCotter, a Republican from Michigan and the chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, and Congressman Stephen Lynch, a Democrat from Massachusetts and a member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Time is running out, and first I just want to show our viewers the difference between the current tax brackets and if the Bush tax cuts were to expire on December 31st. The 10% tax bracket will expire, reverting to 15%. The 25% tax rate would rise to 28%. The 33% rate would rise to 36%, and the 35% rate would rise to 39.6%. Now, Congressman McCotter, unless Congress acts, tax rates will rise January 1st for every American, including the middle class, and that's a change that would essentially show up almost immediately throughout our paychecks, our withholding in our paychecks. What will this do to our economy?
Well, obviously, raising taxes on anyone in a recession is going to hinder a recovery. So what we're looking at now is the hope that the Democratic leadership in the House will allow a bipartisan coalition that recognizes that to have a vote on this and tax relief across the board and not nip in the bud of potential nascent recovery.
The problem is, will there be a compromise? And Congressman Lynch, the president on Wednesday, did express his willingness to compromise with the Republicans. But then you've got Nancy Pelosi, who is digging her heels in, and Eric Cantor today on Fox News Sunday refusing to offer any sign that Republicans will compromise. I want you guys to listen to this.
I am not for sending any signal to small businesses in this country that they're going to have their tax rates go up. Washington, I mean, people, I think it's indicative, the election result reflected the fact that people get Washington does not have a revenue problem. It's got a spending problem.
Eric Cantor of Virginia, he's poised to become the House Majority Leader in January. How much backlash do both Obama and Republicans risk, Congressman Lynch, if they can't reach an agreement in time?
Well, your numbers spoke volumes, I think. We don't want to see all these tax cuts to go away. The president has put out, I think, a responsible proposal to preserve them for 98% of all the taxpayers there. Now we're in negotiations about the other 2%, and he's indicated that he's got a willingness to compromise a bit further on that. So I'd like to get to a point where we can sit down and talk about this. We have two problems. One is the stimulus, which is, you know, we want to preserve the tax cuts. The other is this deficit, and we have to show some meaningful progress in reducing that deficit, not only to show our own discipline, but also to demonstrate to international markets that we have the willingness to do so.
Yeah, but Congressman McCotter, Republicans want to permanently extend these cuts to all income levels. You know, will the president, will Pelosi negotiate there? You know, Senate Democrats have actually indicated that they're open to at least a short-term extension for everybody, but Pelosi wants to let rates rise for taxpayers earning more than $200,000 a year, which was Obama's original position. So how much power, I guess, does Pelosi wield in the end on who is eligible for a tax cut?
Well,
we're going to find that out.
Congressman McCotter, I'll let you go first.
Stephen.
Sure.
Go right ahead. The reality is that, okay, thanks. The Democratic majority remains in place as long as the Bush tax relief, ironically. So when we talk about the president having to compromise with Republicans, that's not the case. The president has to negotiate with the Speaker of the House. And I would hope that the centerpiece of that negotiation is for the Speaker of the House to recognize the election results, to support a full recovery by allowing across-the-board tax relief, and not keeping many of her members on her own side of the aisle captive from voting on this, because if we're allowed an up or down vote on an extension across the board, I believe it would pass.
Does Nancy Pelosi need to be reminded that she's no longer the majority leader?
I should add this. Look, I think part of the election.
Speaker of the House. I mean, how much? I want to know how much power will she actually wield come decision time? Because she's talking as if she's still Speaker of the House, isn't she? Congressman Lynch?
If I could get a word in here?
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Let me get a word in here. I think part of the election anger was that the deficit was out of control. So part of what we're suggesting about right here is to take a portion of the taxpayers, the top 2%, and actually phasing out those in order to reduce the deficit. So I think that is responding in a way to this current mandate that you speak of in the recent election.
And Congressman McCotter, I guess, in the end, Republicans might actually insist on a one-year deal so that they can essentially stage a debate on taxes next fall heading into the presidential election. But what happens if the cuts are actually extended to 2 years? That basically would put this issue off until the 2012 election, which might be something that Democrats would want and might actually help them, or would it?
Well, you said the Speaker is the Speaker until the end of the year, and we need to act quickly so that this lame duck does not turn into a dead duck for an economic recovery. Now, as for what we're going to do at the present time, again, we are held hostage by the fact that we remain in the minority we were put. As for the election mandate, people in Michigan care about jobs, people in America care about jobs, and they know that raising taxes to make government bigger and give it more of your money is going to hurt an economic recovery, especially when you take it from people most capable of investing, growing the economy, and creating jobs.
And Congressman Lynch, I guess, if Republicans claim that raising taxes on those earning more than $200,000 would hurt many small business owners, the small business owners are those who President Obama has promised that he would give attention to. What happens to small business owners on January 1st if these tax cuts aren't extended?
Well, I think the president has indicated a willingness to compromise on that. He's already said yes to preserving the tax cuts for 98% of the people out there. Now we're talking about this last 2%, and he said he's willing to take another look at that, and especially with respect to small businesses. So, look, we've got to solve this. I think we both realize, Mr. McCotter and I, that doing nothing is not an option here. We've got to figure something out here.
All right, Congressman McCotter and Lynch, thank you very, very much for talking to us. And the final makeup of the House